Something pretty cool about modding Super Mario Bros. Wonder is just how much stuff we can edit without even having to touch the game's code. A lot of the game's information is stored in large parameter files. I've already discussed how this works for the game's levels, but it goes way beyond that. Fundamental systems, such as the player's physics, are controlled by gigantic, but still easily editable, lists of values stored in the game's pack folder. And I think one of the most interesting things about these editable player physics is the fact that each character actually has their own file, even though each character's physics are notoriously identical. I'm not sure whether this means unique player physics were planned at one point. This could also just be the result of the way the game was programmed or something, but either way, we can take advantage of this. For example, let's try giving Luigi his signature higher jump. We can open up playerluigi.pack.zs, and in there we can find a list of every value the game needs to store in relation to Luigi's physics and other interactions. We want to change his jump height, right? So let's open up player jump param, and that leads us down the rabbit hole to a list of parameters. Now, we could export and edit this stuff as a text file, like I've shown for the game's levels, but let's keep things simple by continuing to use Switch Toolbox for this particular task. The reason this file contains 4 lists of parameters is because there are several ways in which the player's jump height changes throughout the game. The normal list is for, well, obviously normal jumping. The Luigi list is for the game's floaty jump badge, which mimics Luigi's iconic physics. Slight spoilers here. There's also metal variations of both for the metal wonder effect towards the end of the game, which makes you heavier and thus jump lower. The only thing we have to do to make Luigi's normal jump a bit higher is to set this jump init velocity value a bit higher. So let's check out the results in game. Yeah, so it might not be that obvious without the floaty jump animation, but here we are, we're jumping slightly higher than usual. Speaking of that animation, I looked into it, but I believe all characters actually use the same jumping animation, so I can't really give Luigi his own. I suppose the best way of noticing a difference is by comparing it with the vanilla jump side by side. Yeah, there we go. I suppose in 3D World, Luigi also jumps a shorter distance horizontally or something like that. They gave him some kind of drawback at least, but I'm not entirely sure how we could replicate that. So let's move on to another character, namely Blue Toad. It's the same deal as before. Blue Toad has a pack file we can open and edit, but this time I guess we'll want to change his run speed, so we gotta open up the player speed param file. This file has quite a few lists of values because there are quite a lot of scenarios that affect the player's run speed, but all we gotta do is mess with the max speed table. I'm not going to pretend like I know exactly how each of these values here are utilized within the game's physics, but let's say we want Blue Toad to be 10% faster than other players, so we'll just multiply all this stuff by 1.1. I suppose another thing we can do is give Blue Toad his lower jump, which involves the same kind of edits we did to Luigi, except we're lowering the values now. It's once again a bit tough to notice any kind of a difference in game, but yeah, I'm pretty sure we're going about 10% faster right now. I also decided to make the jump height difference pretty subtle, by the way. So there we go, another appropriate physics edit. For the record, I have no idea how we could give Peach her floating dress at all times, though if you're fine with using the floating hat badge, I recommend using this mod by Platonic Diva, which makes Peach float with her dress instead of using her hat. So that's all the 3D World characters taken care of, but I had another idea that relates to another 3D World character actually. Captain Toad makes a few appearances in Super Mario Bros. Wonder, but he's not a playable character. However, as was discovered by Insidious NX, we can sort of make him playable without having to do any kind of complicated model swaps or anything like that. It's a simple process, just rename his existing model file to Player Kinopio Super both externally and internally, and play as either one of the Toads, and there we go, playable Captain Toad. Some of his animations are kind of broken, like he doesn't have any kind of hat glider, but it looks alright considering all we did was rename some files. Now this only works for the player's normal state. Things like Small Toad or Elephant Toad remain unedited. But of course, the reason I wanted to get Captain Toad into the game is so we can recreate his rather unique physics. Captain Toad can't jump, that's the whole point of his character I guess, so let's try to recreate that. We can open up the physics pack for either one of the Toads, and once again we'll want to mess with the player jump param file. All we have to do to make Captain Toad not be able to jump is to set all these values to 0. Let's check it out in game, and sure enough, it might look a bit strange, but we can't jump at all. Even things like the spin jump are affected, we just can't get off of the ground no matter what we do. This means we're actually pretty helpless in 1-1 here, and that's actually given me an idea. A platform type that appears quite a lot throughout Super Mario Bros. Wonder is these colourful note blocks that make you jump a bit higher. These might be a fun way of allowing Captain Toad to jump at least a little bit without breaking the cannon or whatever. The jump height for these note blocks is controlled by the bridge jump value, so instead of keeping that at 0, let's make it like 10. Let's go to 1-2 to check this out, and yeah, there we go. We can't jump normally, but we can gain just a bit of height by using the note blocks. Let's just ignore the incredibly messed up animation, okay? Honestly, the more I mess with this Captain Toad stuff, the more I'm thinking about the potential of making a full-on Captain Toad campaign inside of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Like, just imagine making 2D Mario levels specifically around the fact that the player can't jump. Oh, I suppose that's actually a lot like the Goomba segment from the original game. But still, just think of how differently all the game's mechanics could be used in a Captain Toad style. I think there's genuinely some potential here. Like, instead of the turnips from Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, we could use the pulling things to give the players items without needing to jump. That would be perfect. Anyways, wow, that was a tangent. What was this video about again? Oh yeah, player physics. Well, I think we've done all we can here for now. I suppose I could come up with unique physics for the other characters as well, but honestly, I'm all out of ideas at the moment. If you've got any suggestions for what kind of physics the other characters should have, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. If you're interested in Super Mario Bros. Wonder modding, please consider subscribing to this channel and checking out the Wonderland Discord server linked in the description. But that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye!